The timing should be perfect. I can't let my anxiety make me make a last-minute mistake. It took me almost 6 months to get it right. I can't mess it up now. I'm Alicia Walker. I just turned 45, and I'm going to radically change my lifestyle. I've been married to Bill Walker for a little over 20 years. We dated, and then were engaged for another 5 years. We have one daughter who is in college. This Friday evening marks the 25th anniversary of our first date. He's sentimental about these things. Bill organized a special dinner for us at our favorite restaurant. Unfortunately, he will receive the biggest and most terrible surprise of his life. Even now, I love this big guy. The first few years of our marriage were perfect. I had no doubt that we would spend our whole lives together. Oh, we had to work hard and share responsibilities, especially after the birth of our daughter, Elizabeth. Bill made me leave my job until she was old enough to go to school. When I returned to work, our main goals were paying for Elizabeth college and saving for retirement. Our bank accounts have skyrocketed thanks to the growth in income from promotions and salary increases, Bill's wise investments, and the inheritance from our deceased parents. I fully supported Bill during this time. Although we sometimes disagreed, we never quarreled. We made love regularly. I never, ever thought about cheating on him, although I was regularly molested by men in the office and even at neighborhood gatherings. It wasn't what I wanted. Bill was fine with me. Now I have to admit that I'm being a hypocrite. I publicly condemned the cheaters, but I loved listening to the details of their adventures. I've heard about women suffering from emptiness syndrome. Women were supposed to go emotionally crazy and become nuns. The personality supposedly changes overnight. Personally, I thought it was nonsense. I thought that having no children at home was a chance to strengthen my marriage with Bill. Elizabeth was mostly independent before she went to college. She rarely came home before going to bed. We've almost gotten used to the fact that she was herself. I saw no reason to prepare to change anything in my life. Maybe I should have. Having more time to think about myself, I had time to think about whether men still find me attractive. Finally, I decided to do something I hadn't done in a long time. I looked in the full-length mirror without clothes. Where my skin used to be smooth, I had wrinkles. What used to stand out on its own is now sagging. What used to be flat has acquired a cupcake. What used to be wide now deserved a wide plaque. I started to pay attention to male compliments and double hints. Either I wasn't paying attention, or the interest of men other than my husband had decreased. I began to train more, put on more makeup, and dress up to emphasize my best qualities. The admiration of the men increased. I felt better, and yet I felt that I needed something else, something different, something exciting, something playful and risky. I started reading stories about cheating and watching movies on the internet. When I analyzed what was happening at home, I didn't see any difference in how my husband treated me compared to how he treated me before Elizabeth left. That was the problem. Everything was the same as always. Oh, I got compliments from him. He never missed birthdays or anniversaries. We still made love regularly, but they were the same old compliments. It's nice, but it felt like a rerun, not the original episodes. I wanted a change, a boost of energy. I thought I was giving Bill a chance to give me a change. The actions were different and everything was fine, but it was still the same old Bill. I don't think he knew about it. It was then that I first thought about finding someone who could give me a thrill, maybe even become my lover. My priority in finding a new partner was, first of all, secrecy. If I were caught, it would kill me because it would destroy my husband and daughter. That meant no fake late nights at work or overnight business trips. Hotels or overnight stays with him or me were considered too dangerous for me. I started to think that it should be an office romance during working hours. But even this will require careful planning. Looking through the possible options from the office, I excluded almost all men. There were a couple of handsome single men, but I heard them bragging about the cheaters they dated, including some married women. I couldn't let them brag about me. Every day at home became more and more painful. Our routine has reached a dead end. Something had to change, otherwise I'd go crazy. Even the new toys provided no more than a short-term respite from boredom. Then it happened, or rather he did. His name was Darnell, short for Darn. Some other men said damn. and then laughingly apologized for confusing his name. About 6 months ago, he took a mid-level position in the office. All the women noticed his appearance and charm. I was afraid that several women would try to rape him. They certainly did it with their eyes. Although he flirted a bit, it seemed that he never aspired to any kind of relationship beyond friendly and professional. I noticed that he held his gaze and smiled for a few seconds when he looked at me. My heart was fluttering and I was getting wet. Every few days he would come to me for a small talk and ask me something about my husband or daughter, very carefully and without alarming anyone except my buds of lust. The first change in our relationship occurred when he asked me to sit with him at lunch. I knew that this could be the first step towards what I thought I wanted. So I agreed. He immediately said, "I hope this doesn't mean that the office gossip machine will now consider us a couple." I laughed and explained, "I'll take a chance. Now, I could use a little excitement in my life right now." I don't think I wanted, at least consciously, to let him know that there was something missing in my life, but it spilled out. It's too late to take it all back, even if I wanted to. Our contacts continued to be short and casual. I found out that his wife, Mary Alice, was well off and they had no children. He spoke well of her, but not with love. Her family didn't want her to marry him. If they were fighting, she liked to use in her arguments the fact that she married him against the wishes of the family, so he should be grateful. I told him about my daughter and how proud I was of her. I described the relationship with my husband as comfortable, predictable, and unchangeable. Gradually, I made it clear to him that I was not satisfied with my home life. In the end, I hinted at the lack of pleasant lovemaking with my husband. I didn't tell Darnell that I needed another man. He figured out what I needed. Darnell made it clear to me that he wanted us to be more than just friendly colleagues. I timidly admitted that I felt the same way, knowing full well what path I was embarking on. We had taken precautions. We tried not to look longingly at each other. No touching or outright flirting. We thought everyone thought we were friends who were happily married to other people. As a smokescreen, I even teased Ted, the other man in our office, about being my office husband, and told him he had to up his game to stay married to me. The distraction seems to have worked. The situation finally escalated on the day when we accidentally found ourselves alone in the elevator. Darnell pressed the stop button. I guessed correctly why. He brazenly attacked me with a passionate kiss, to which I willingly responded. The hands quickly explored all of each other's bodies. In the minutes that followed, everything was forgotten except enjoying each other. I didn't want to break away when he released the button and the elevator started moving. He only said, "We need to talk." I nodded my head and hoped that my discharge wouldn't run down my legs before I got to the toilet. That day, I didn't have time to do anything but think about the time we spent in the elevator. There was a slight feeling of guilt, but the feeling of "I want more" overcame my guilt. Darn called me and offered to tell my husband that I would have to stay for a few minutes today. I wondered if he wanted to go further in our research this evening. I hope so. He came into my office and immediately said that we needed to hurry up and that it was not customary to stay late. There was no attempt on his part to approach me. Instead, we talked. We agreed that we both want a relationship with each other, but we have to be extremely careful about it. We both went home and started thinking about a safe way to do what we wanted. I've read that cheating women often tell their spouses that the marriage has not suffered because the husband still makes love to her whenever he wants. They did not notice that they were cheating on their husband outside the bedroom. I immediately began to treat Bill differently without realizing it. I probably wanted to find flaws in him so that I wouldn't feel guilty when I was with my lover. After the episode in the elevator, I was almost constantly, mentally, with my potential lover. The things Bill did at home, which were minor irritants that I hadn't paid attention to before, have now become a point of contention. When I raised issues, I raised them loudly. The things that I used to ask him to do and knew he would eventually do now caused me to quibble if they weren't done quickly. I was becoming a bitch. Meanwhile, Darnell came up with a solution for our meetings. He rented a small vacant space on the floor above us in an office building. I asked how he could afford it. He replied, "This is the advantage of a rich wife." I didn't complain. We got some basic furniture, among which, most importantly, was a large sofa with an easily washable cover. We christened him as soon as we could. Once then, when we had breaks to meet, we left the table at different times. One was going up the stairs and the other was taking the elevator. We were never together when we went to our love nest or returned from it. From time to time, we took a few days off to reduce the chance of being caught. We tried to think through all the options for how our spouses might catch us. We constantly checked for cameras or recording devices in the office and at home. We have never corresponded by email or texted each other. Darnell bought us special phones that we only used to talk to each other. If our spouses saw the phone, they should have told them that it was only a work phone. We chose passwords unrelated to our families that would be easy to guess. We have thought through everything, it would seem. As my relationship with Darnell grew, so did my desire to be with him all the time. I still loved Bill, but he no longer made me feel the way Darnell did. Bill was an old pair of comfortable slippers that I didn't want to throw away. Darnell was a new pair of overly expensive shoes that I just had to have. Darn was the first to talk about how we could be together forever. Together we have worked out a definite plan. We accidentally told our spouses that a friend of ours had a spouse who died suddenly. Despite the existence of a will, the accounts in the name of the deceased spouse were frozen, so the remaining spouse could not immediately access them. The trial took more than 6 months, and the living spouse had to borrow money until the inheritance issue was resolved. We said that this could have been avoided if their bank accounts had been registered in both their names. Mary Alice agreed to finally prove to Darnell that she, unlike her family, believes that he is not a gold digger. In our case, Bill took the hint, and we both added each other's names to our existing accounts. It was he who suggested that the safe, which contained old jewelry, gold coins, and savings bonds, should also be issued in both our names. I thanked him with one of the best nights I've had lately. Maybe it was Bill's body, but in my mind it was Darnell. I didn't realize how differently I felt about Bill until Elizabeth arrived. Both Bill and I were glad to see her. The three of us laughed and told stories from her childhood. It was like traveling back in time. She took me aside and said that my father had informed her that I had been moody lately, and he was asking what was the matter. Liz mentioned that I seemed normal to her during this meeting. I said that her father was probably right about something. I admitted that I was in a bad mood and suggested that maybe I was going through menopause. I assured her that our marriage was as strong as ever. It hurt me to lie to my daughter, but I couldn't tell her the truth yet. When Darnell and I had the opportunity to talk after that, I told him that I thought Bill was starting to worry about me. I said that in my opinion, we should make plans to be together earlier than we talked about it earlier. What we came up with was very unfair to Bill and Mary Alice, but we've already cheated. So what the hell? We were going to take all the money we could and disappear together. For them, it wouldn't be so cruel. Both of our spouses had access to a lot of money, Bill because of his job and Mary Alice because of her family. None of them will suffer financially for too long. Darnell didn't like Mary Alice's family, so he didn't mind getting the family money. I came up with some kind of unworthy excuse to justify robbing my husband as blind. I tried to get him to change, but nothing worked. I didn't want to think about it. I focused on leaving with my lover and doing whatever we want, when we want, and where we want. Stop traveling down memory lane. It's almost time. I called the restaurant and made sure that Bill had indeed booked a table for 1,800 hours. And so it was. And the bottle of our favorite wine was already cooling. Bill said he would have to stay at work a little longer, and he would meet me there. At 15:30, I was at our bank. I gave the girl my ID and told her that I wanted to withdraw all our money from our joint accounts. When she looked at our bills, a puzzled expression appeared on her face. I think that you and your husband may have got it wrong. He was here earlier today and has already withdrawn almost all the money. When so much money is withdrawn, we are asked to ask why. Suddenly, it has something to do with customer service. According to a note on his computer, he said he was afraid of a stock market crash and wanted to pay in cash for a while. The person who performed the operation tried to assure him that the money was safe, but your husband insisted on his own. What about a safe deposit box? He may have put cash in there, but I don't work in that department. Do you see the man in the brown jacket at the elevator? He can help you there. Do you have the key to the safe deposit box with you? Yes, I approached the man and was asked to sign the registration lock. While I was doing this, I noticed Bill's signature, a few names ahead of mine. Either he put the money in the drawer or he beat me to it to clear it. A big difference, a huge one. I went downstairs and we opened the door to the cell. I was in awe of what I would find. I was very nervous. Our box was placed on the table and I was left alone to open it. My heart sank. There was nothing in it except for the letter. Alicia, if you're reading this, you know that I beat you to our money. Darnell has to find out now, too, the same thing. When Mary Alice and I found out what you and Darnell were up to, we started thinking about what to do. Although we were thinking about a divorce, we realized that your plan was better. Hide with the money and disappear. You, too, have been hiding your affair very well. If you want to blame someone for finding out about this, blame the telemarketer who called you on your second cell phone while you were in the other room. Obviously, you turned off the sound, but not the vibrating alert. When I pulled this fake phone out of your purse, I saw that a telemarketer had called you. For a while, I didn't think anything about it, but then I just wondered, why do you need a second phone? There may be several good reasons, but I immediately thought of one terrible reason: to hide the affair. I considered this reason as a justification for your recent behavior, but I did not hint to you that I was beginning to doubt it, despite other signs of infidelity. Do you remember when I bought that box of helium pins because I was constantly losing pins? I gave you a few, and I scattered many of them around the house so I could find them when I needed a pin. So in each pin there was a transmitter that forwarded all the conversations to my computer. I've made sure that you always have one pin in your purse. It took us a few days to find out the whole story, but we found out. In the process of planning together, we tried to help each other heal a broken heart and fell in love. At first it was making love out of revenge, but then it turned into something more. The idea of going to romantic places with an exciting new lover was stolen from the two of you. But it suited us perfectly, especially since you both thought it was good enough for you. I sent Liz my version of the story, so in a couple of days, she'll know what's going on. I assured her that I would make sure that the rest of her tuition was paid for, so I probably want to talk to you as soon as she gets the information. I told her about you and Darnell, so be prepared. While Mary Alice and I travel the world together, we will keep an eye on you guys. I'm not sure if you'll find the money to start traveling, especially since your boss has been notified about your dates during business hours. We will send postcards if you were unable to arrive. By the way, Mary Alice and I recently canceled your flight ticket. I don't think you want to leave the country without cash or credit cards. One of the things I told Mary Alice but didn't tell you is that I had a nickname that I got in elementary school. I was called Toad after I played the role of a frog in a school play. This fact made me think about another way to break up with my beloved, not mentioned in the song by Simon and Garfunkel. My version of what we're doing is, take this on the road, Toad. I'm sure it's not funny to you or Darnell. Very sorry. We like. I think I should thank you for almost 20 years of marriage and a wonderful daughter. For some reason, hearing that you actually think of me as a husband and lover as well as what you plan to do to me makes it hard for me to play well. Anyway, I hope making love to Darnell was worth it. At least you still have it. Goodbye. Bill and Mary Alice.